These are some of my favorite Tennessee River baits. You know, obviously when we fish a tournament or we just go fishing on Tennessee River, you know, we throw a lot of baits, let's be clear. You know, any given day, any tournament, any season. But they're some of the best. So let's get right to it. You know, I just wanted to show you some of my favorites, and I got them kind of divided up by season. Let's start with prespawn, a lipless. This is the War Pig, ½ ounce. If you're not throwing a lipless, and you're not throwing a War Pig in the spring on the Tennessee River, you're gonna have a long spring. But no, it's just a staple. You know, the fish are getting shallow, they're getting on gravel. You know, lipless, War Pig, gotta throw it. The bait, right? It's the one everybody's been throwing the last few years. You know, the vibrating jig, slobber knocker is incredible. It's a great bait. I throw it all spring up through the spawn and just flat catches them, and it catches big ones. My favorite, because I'm an East Tennessee guy, is the frit side. I mean, you can't fish in Tennessee without a flat side. I mean, you just can't do it. So the frit side is my go-to, and you know, catch a lot of fish. You know, these fish are staging up, they're getting shallow, you know, they're getting on rock, getting next to a single piece of wood. Flat side, frit side, way to go. And of course, the staple, the stunner. You know, you're targeting fish that are staging, getting ready to come up out of their winter haunts. You know, jerkbait, the Berkeley stunner, just can't go without it. So let's kind of go, you know, spawning's, you know, kind of anybody's game, right? I mean, you're pitching soft plastics, you're throwing something white. You know, I don't think we're really going to go into that much, mostly because I'm not a very good sight fisherman. But let's go post spawn. So once the fish are done spawning, they're garden fry. If you know anything about me, if you know anything about the Tennessee River, you know I'm going to be rolling this. So this is the Bullet Pop 80. And the key to this is what I'm doing with this is not what everybody thinks. I'm not casting this out over open water. I am rolling this, you know, under bushes, in shade spots, under dock walkways, and I'm targeting big females that are garden fry. And I'm trying to land this without a splash and just getting those big females come up for this. Of course, how can you fish almost any season, but specifically, you know, post spawn? My favorite time to throw a wacky rig is post spawn, but obviously there's a lot of fish caught that are staging up for the bed, you know, on this bait. And just the funnest one, to be clear, is post spawn. Those fish are up, they are garden fried, chopo. I mean, there's no better time to throw it. You know, as soon as they come off the bed, I start winding this thing around, and it is a post spawn bait for me. Something else that's going on kind of almost in conjunction with the post spawn is a shad spawn. And it is a huge deal on the Tennessee River. You know, it is, I mean, if you're not fishing the shad spawn when it's going on, you're probably beat. You know, it's a key way to pick up some really, really big fish early, you know, in every event that you'll fish, whether it's just out fun fishing or you're fishing a tournament. And my two go-tos for that are simple. Berkeley white jig, this is the swim jig. You know, if I'm fishing at docks, I'm throwing a skipping jig. If I'm around grass or wood, I'm going to throw the swim jig. Always white, always white, always white. And I go through a whole bunch of them during the shad spawn. And I mean, they hold up well, but when you skip it, you know, 6 miles under a dock, and sometimes you lose a few. So always a white swim jig, a white skipping jig. I mean, you just can't beat it. And you know, for when you're fishing, whether it's riprap, you know, shad are going to spawn on docks, and then they're going to spawn on rock. So if I'm fishing rock, a lot of times I'll get away from the swim jig, you know, just a jig, and I'll throw a spinnerbait. So, you know, the Berkeley Power Blade, you know, came out this past year, and I mean, it's a great spinnerbait. White blades, white, you know, just white during the shad spawn for me, and great bait. So that gets us through the shad spawn, and that gets us to what I would say is a lot of people's favorite time of year on the Tennessee River, and that is summer. You got to throw a big crankbait. You know, it is the way to catch them on the Tennessee River, you know, when they're schooled up on ledges. I mean, all the way down the chain. It does not matter. You've got to have a deep crankbait. You've got to have a dredger on all the time during the summer, because if you get a school fired with a crankbait, you put a hurt on them quick. The other bait that I'll throw a lot is the Berkeley football head jig. You know, it's when you can't get those big fish to fire on a crankbait, you know, you've got to slow down your presentation, but you still want to catch big ones. I'm trying to catch one that matters for my limit. It's going to be a Berkeley football jig. And that brings us to the fall. And what I noticed about this lineup is there are no fall baits, but that's not true, because once the fish go shallow in the fall, it all starts over again. It's when I go back to the War Pig, go back to the lipless. I mean, all-time great fall bait. It's when I go back to a slobber knocker. Most of the time in the fall, I'm going to go to a shad color. You go back to a stunner, go back to a jerkbait, fish are pulling up. Always going to use the shallower version in the fall for the most part. You know, not the 112 plus, but the 112. And probably the most fun is you're going to go back to the choppo. You know, fish are up, they're feeding, they're looking up, they're chasing shad. Shad are moving in the back of the pockets, and you know, that's when it's time to pick up a topwater and just go to work. Some of my favorite baits for the Tennessee River, spring, summer, fall.